What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Aftersound here, bringing you Splinterlands content every single day. We also stream right here on this channel every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday morning, so come by and say hello. All right, guys, because we did not have a town hall this past week, I thought I'd get creative and still give a 5 biggest takeaways, but it is the 5 biggest takeaways from the launch of Land Phase 1.0. So this is, there's a lot to be said, and some of this we may have known already from the white paper, but I think it's just starting to really hit home now that we're diving into the production points. We're seeing all, different kinds of lands that we have, and land is real. It's here in a way that, it was only abstract for the past couple months, maybe even years, and even the last couple of weeks. Again, you had the white paper come out, which was cool, but we didn't have anything just yet. We didn't know what kind of land we had. So now that it's here in the flesh, or in the digital flesh, in its reality, and we know what land we have, we know what we can try to chase, what the opportunity might be. This is where, things have changed dramatically, and I've started to really dive into the white paper because I can better understand what my overall goals will be. So these are just 5 things that I've been kind of germinating on or ruminating on. I don't know what the right word is, but let's just go ahead and dive in, okay? So the first one, the team's vision and their ability to execute. So, when land was the longest meme, or it was a meme for the longest time, and the fact is we have land now, right? Like, it's not necessarily playable in the way that we were all hoping for by this time, but it is here, and it has been exciting. I mean, I've actually really, really enjoyed the whole process of, like, surveying and, kind of playing. I mean, I haven't really done anything in the market, but talking with other folks who have, like, sold land or tried to get in with their friends or try to get into get a keep or get into a specific region, right? We're having fun in Area 51. Like, it's here now, and that's pretty awesome. It's been great. So when I'm talking about the team's vision and ability to execute, where I'm going with this is that I think we have finally gotten to a place for the team that they have able to match scope with the skill set and resources that they have, right, from their developers. And what I'm talking about specifically is, and Matt has said this, right, in previous town halls. Early on, Matt was thinking, land was going to be something very simple in terms of its overall format and its addition to the game. But then we had that big boom in 2021, Bull Run, SPS airdrop. It brought a lot of people in. It brought a lot of capital in, and that the team turned around and used that capital to expand the team, right? So it wasn't really a team back then. It was like Aggie, Cryptomancer, Nate, and Matt, and they went around and hired a bunch of people, right? And so all of a sudden, it's just like, well, that scope went from really small to really, really large. And then obviously, there were the cuts last year at the end of last year, and there were, people are going to look back and be like, well, 2022 is filled with a lot of like, pre-sales and whatever, and land wasn't really prioritized and blah blah blah. And I get it, right? I'm not saying that anybody's analysis of that is wrong, but where I'm trying to go is that we had the massive boom probably in scope as well as team, and then we had to cut the team. The team had to do some layoffs back in November, and I'm sure the scope for this was had to be redefined. But I would say, and if we use December 2022 as kind of like a starting point, which I know it's not the perfect starting point because land was already late, but if you just use it as a starting point, I feel like the scope, right, that was created for land of what could be done, right, for the remaining land phase 1, right, because we got phase 0.5 early or at the end of last year, which wasn't super exciting, or at least definitely not as exciting as land phase 1. So we got that, and the team was able to look at that and be like, okay, what can we do to get to phase 1, and then what can we do to have like a half step from phase 1 to phase 2, which is what we're getting with phase 1.5. So my point with this is that the team looked at it. They did their planning in December, and they said, here, like, let's get land phase 1 completed. Let's get it done by the end of the quarter, and let's start thinking about what we can do by the end of Q2. So my whole point with this, again, and I keep coming back to it, is just the fact that like scope now matches the resources that they have, at least hopefully, right? But we've seen that now for a full quarter. Maybe you can even say 6 months going back to the end of last year, because I'm sure they were thinking about, okay, what's land going to be, and how are we going to accomplish XYZ goals? Well, they've done it, right? We have land phase 1 now, and the next thing is focusing on land phase 1.5 and land phase 2, and we the team had their planning session a couple of weeks ago in March to try and focus on getting land phase 1.5 by the end of Q2, right? Maybe early Q3 at this point. But again, it's like the planning, this new agile system that they've implemented, it seems to be working very well. We've gotten a lot more outside of land too, right? So it's not just land, but within land, we've gotten a lot. Within land, we've gotten what we wanted with land phase 1. We're very excited for phase 1.5 because we got the white paper from Matt, so this has been thought through from a very top-down, bird's eye view perspective. And now it goes to, everything that was thought through for 1.5 now goes to the appropriate people, right? Creative gets to work on all of the, the visual assets and the UI. You have, the dev team led by Farpatrod focusing on like actually bringing this stuff into life and coding it. So to me, it's just like everybody's kind of on the same page, and maybe we don't get it by the end of Q2. But I still think that we're in a way better place than we were a year ago in terms of like when land, right? Or when land 1.5. So I'm really excited about that. That's probably like the most important thing for me as just like a player and being like, all right, I'm super excited about land, obviously, for myself and winning the lottery. But ultimately, everybody's been excited for land for the longest time just because it's going to add so much to the overall ecosystem as it already has. So that to me is number one, first and foremost, in terms of overall takeaway. Okay, so let's move on to the more specific things. Number 2, gold foils have way more value on land. And if you just look at like common gold foils, for example, right, you look at the production points, and I think from like commons to regular foil to gold foil, it's like a 2x. Right. And then when you get up to the higher ones, let's just look at legendary, for example, because that's going to be the most, right? It's like 1,500 per or 1,500 for a maxed regular foil legendary versus 10,000 for a maxed gold foil legendary. Right. And that's before any of the multipliers or anything. So you look at, it's at least a 2x at the common level. It's like a 3, 4, 5x at the legendary level. And then when you compare that to playing gold foils in the game, it's only a 10% bonus on RP. So I know it's not really comparing apples to apples, right? But it's like, well, what game are you playing, right? And most of us will be playing both, right? It'll be like, I have like one plot of land, or I have a tract or region, versus like I have a deck. And so part of me is just like, well, where do I put my gold foils now? Because I want to maximize land. Sure. Do I want to get the nice 10% boost whenever I play the game? Absolutely. And again, it's 10% per card, right? But so you could have more than 10% within a game. But ultimately, I feel like the value, which is hard to quantify now, but the value is way more on land and what land can be. Again, just kind of theoretically right now. So my expectation is we see a lot of gold foils get sucked off the market, or sucked off like the game playing cards available for the game, and we see those move over to land, which could be interesting. But it's just the value of gold foils is significantly higher, it seems, on land right now. Obviously, once people start earning on land, we start to see what that looks like. Maybe they get away from it, but I highly doubt it. People have been collecting gold foils for this reason alone, and maybe there's an overabundance, especially of the reward card gold foils. But ultimately, we're going to see a lot of those just disappear and work land for the foreseeable future. Number 3 is Rooney. So to me, what land kind of showed is like, Matt's going to deliver on his promise. Rooney utility will only continue to increase from here. So this is not me saying go and buy a Rooney because like the value is going to go up. I have no idea what's going to happen with the market, with NFTs, because NFTs can be their own like separate, market or trend. But when you look at what Rooney is and what Rooney can do, first of all, you have it in the game. Most people don't like playing with it. I personally like playing with the Rooney. Maybe that's just the level that I'm at, which is like high diamond. But I get a lot of value from my Rooney. It wins a lot of games for me. And, while it's not an OP card, I do love using it in game. But now land is just so appealing for Rooney in so many ways. And I am curious to see what else could be given in the future. We know there's guild stuff coming, and we know that when it was like guild alliances, Matt wanted to give utility to Rooney for guild alliances. Obviously, guild alliances are not happening anymore, but I would still bet that with some of the new buildings coming in, because, I'm sure a lot of those ideas maybe got scaled down, but not necessarily, changed in their overall ideology of having Rooney be something significant for guilds. I can see that happening, right? Like I can see guilds being used Rooney being used in guild to increase some kind of, some kind of value on one of the buildings in the future. And then like, who knows, right? Like we're only at land phase 1. What if in land phase 2 we get additional Rooney utility here or there? Or what if, there's another game mode added in? What if at some point like Rooney is given some benefit in tower defense? Or any other game that comes into the ecosystem, or if there starts to be, more tournaments more in-person events, things like that, where Rooney can have, or battle pass, right? Like, so again, I'm just throwing a bunch of ideas out. None of this is like set in stone, and I'm just speculating here. But my whole point is that like Rooney utility, based on what we saw from land, because it's just so freaking valuable in land that it like doesn't make sense to hold it to play in game, which I will continue to do, right? With my Rooney, I still want to play it in game, but it's just like, it's so valuable on land that most people who want to get the most out of land are going to use it. And then what happens when guild stuff comes around and you have your top like 10 or 20 guilds that are like, you know what, we could use an extra Rooney to do something, XYZ on our within our guild or our guild building. Well, all of a sudden, you're probably going to see more Rooney fly off the shelves, right? So I don't know what happens to the floor price from here, but I would love to see Rooney be something that is just massively highly valued, because if we can get that floor price up, what I think we're going to see is hopefully what Matt and the team had intended originally, which was attention from the Ethereum community, right? Last year was just a rough time. We launched Rooney at a really rough time. The market was down. Bitcoin was nearing its, hopefully its cycle low. And, here we are where Bitcoin just crossed 30K. You've seen Rooney go up probably more than 2x, 2.5x from like its low. I think it was under 0.2 ETH, and now it's like closing in on 0.5 ETH. So, if we start to see more and more get taken off the market and then used and utilized within game for something specific, I think it's going to be awesome, not just for the game, not just for Rooney value, but also hopefully for attention within the Splinterlands community or within the wider Ethereum community that could flow into Splinterlands. So that's kind of my takeaway from Rooney, and I can just say that I wish I'd bought more when they were super cheap. Okay, number 4. I feel as though we're probably going to start seeing more non-ROI based incentives, like the Secret of Pretoria or titles. And you could probably even extend this to soulbound reward cards in a certain sense. Now, granted, I would say most people are still trying to maximize soulbound reward cards because at some point they'll be unlockable. And these cards can be very meta, right? So it's like, I want to win as many soulbound reward cards now because in a year's time or 18 months, 2 years, whatever it ends up being, I'm hoping that I'm able to unlock these cards, especially the really good ones, and then sell them on the market for way more value, right? Than what I paid to unlock them. But looking specifically at land, we're seeing that trend. We're seeing that trend come in here, where sure, people will probably view it as like, okay, if I want to do research on the Secret of Pretoria, for example, I'm not getting anything now, but I'm having trust in the team that whatever the Secret of Pretoria is going to provide value in the future. So it is a form of speculating, but you can't compare it apples to apples with mining SPS or harvesting grain or growing grain, whatever, harvesting grain, whatever you want to call it, because both of those will have a dollar value associated with them, right? At any point in time, you can see how much am I spending on my land and what is the value of SPS or what is the value of grain, and how, what is the return on the investment that I've put into land versus something like Secret of Pretoria, which is just like, well, we don't know. We're speculating for the future, and hopefully it'll be something awesome that the team can deliver in land phase 2 or beyond. Now, the other part of this, and this is probably the most in terms of non-ROI incentives, are these upcoming titles, because the prefix titles, right, Vonarch and all of that, a lot of people are going to spend way more money than the return that they're going to get. So for example, right, like if you I forgot what it is, and I don't have the white paper pulled up right now, but it's just like if you have 5 plots of land, it's going to give you a 10% bonus on your RP, right? I think you get the Warden or there's a Rune Guard if you have 5 Rooney, like, or even like the keep, right? I just went over the ROI for a keep, which is not very good, at least in current circumstances, but people may go out and buy a keep. I mean, I know people who have gone out and bought a keep just because they want to be able to have that marshal title or a castle title, whatever the point is. So what I'm trying to drive here is that I do believe we're going to see more of these non-ROI incentives within the game pop up in the future. And I actually personally think that is awesome, because then it's not, there's a lot of players who want to be at the top of the game, and they want to flex. They want to just know that they're there. This isn't like a money play for them, although they prefer being a top player in a game like Splinterlands versus a top player in a game like Magic the Gathering, because at the end of the day, you still own all your assets, right? And so if we can create that kind of environment where it's just like people want to be the best, right? They don't want to be the richest. They don't want to have the most assets, but they want to be the best in the game. And doing that will also allow them to collect and build up, a wealth of assets within the game that hopefully increase over time. To me, that's pretty awesome. So I don't know what other kind of non-ROI incentives there will be added in the future. Maybe there'll be stuff with guilds, who knows? But we do know that there's like cosmetic stuff coming up in the future, and I am very bullish on that, because I think a lot of people want skins, a lot of people want different kinds of things, and I have all these ideas for like, just put up, charge someone, or charge like a guild, for example, 100,000 DEC, or actually, no, sorry, not 100,000, maybe like 1 million DEC, right? Or 2 million DEC. But if you charge a guild 2 million DEC, then allow them to update their banner, right? Whatever their little logo is, and it has to be approved by the team. It has to be whatever. Maybe if it's even designed by some of the team, but the team can take that as revenue, right? Or we can burn the DEC. So I'm curious to see what other kind of non-ROI incentives are introduced in the future, but it just makes me super pumped. Okay, and we'll close out with this. Number 5. I've said this before, but I'll kind of hammer on it again, and that land to me will continue to be a Swiss Army knife for the game and game economy. Now, I thought that tower defense would be the one, but we just haven't gotten anything from tower defense yet. To me, I was looking at like, okay, well, they're working with a separate team here. They can come in and like add little tweaks, add more DEC burn mechanisms, add voucher burn mechanisms, yada, yada, yada. And maybe tower defense can still be that, but we just don't have the full concept for what that's going to look like in terms of how it affects the game economy. But with land, I just feel like there's going to be tremendous opportunity to, push further things in the future. And I'm not even talking about Land Phase 2, although we don't know what's coming with Land Phase 2. But imagine, Land Phase 2, Land Phase 2.5, Land Phase 3, the team has kind of like a blank slate where it's just like, okay, maybe each land can add, each plot of land can now add a sub building that can only be, upgraded with burning vouchers, for example, right? Because it's going to be something like, what do we have an overabundance of now? Where is the game economy? What are some things that we can do to improve utility to SPS, or utility to DEC, or utility to vouchers, right? Or cards, right? Specific cards, or maybe sets or additions. Like, that's going to be, to me, what the team has as an opportunity, right? Where it's just like, it's going to be a Swiss Army knife. We're going to get phase 1.5, which we know most of the details for already. Phase 2 will be something that the team will probably do an analysis at some point, in Q2, or once phase 1.5 goes live, and say like, okay, what needs to be focused on now, right? What's not getting enough love? Let's find a way to incorporate that in phase 2, and then onwards, right? 2.5 and 3, 3.5, and however high we get with this. But that's exciting to me from, a land perspective, because we all want this to be something awesome. And I would love to think, 3, 4, or 5 years down the road, we do get some kind of metaverse, as people have been asking for, where you can go into your land and it becomes more like a space that you actually own, digital real estate, similar to other, land projects similar to other land in similar projects. But again, that's further down the road. And ultimately, I'm just really excited for land to be that for the team, because it just offers so much more versatility versus, all right, we have a new set, right? Or we have a mini set, or we have a promo set, right? It's just new cards, right? So maybe they could get creative on that, where it's just like, who knows? It's just like when Rebellion comes out, or maybe like the mini set for Rebellion, whenever that comes out, for example. What if they did something where it's just like, okay, you pay the Dow, but you also have to like burn a card, or burn whatever in order to get a pack. Like, they could do stuff like that, which could get interesting, but ultimately, I feel like land just it would be weird on the card game side, but it wouldn't be weird on land, right? So again, I'm just Swiss Army knife is the best kind of definition that I can get for it. But that is all I have for this video. I would love to hear what some of your takeaways are from the launch of Land Phase 1. So let me know in the comments below. We'll continue the discussion there. But otherwise, hope you have an amazing rest of your day. I'll catch you all in the next video and see you around the game. Take care.